ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for another rankings video. It's a beautiful Tuesday, which means that running backs are coming at you. I have 35 options. That means we're going over running back ones, twos, and some flex considerations. This is going to help you make the best decisions possible to crush your opponents in week 5 and go get some dubs. If you have any questions, drop those down below. I answer every single one that I receive. Would love to be able to help you out. If you haven't done it yet, you've enjoyed content from me in the past, smash that like button. It helps me out a bunch. And if you would not mind subscribing to the channel as well, all of that means the world to me. I'm on my way to my first 500 subscribers. We had a big boost last week, so let's keep it rolling. And with that done, let's get into running backs. Even though everybody is jumping on the bandwagon now, I was here first. I have Nick Chubb at numero uno. He's averaging over 115 yards and a touchdown per game. And in addition, the Chargers are a bottom 3 unit against the run. There is no ceilings for him this week, a la Lil Wayne. To 2, it is Saquon Barkley. Quads is on a tear to win Comeback Player of the Year. He's got 2 finishes in the top 5 already on the season. He's gonna make it 3 out of 5 in a big game versus the Pack. Austin Ekeler is up next, a week after going nuclear. Pound for pound, gets a top 10 matchup to exploit. That is easy money. At number 4 and at the top of tier number 2, I have Aaron Jones against the Giants. Last week, he averaged nearly 7 yards a carry, and that was against one of the best run-stopping defenses in the league. So does anybody think, even for a second, that the Giants are going to be able to slow him down? I sure do not. Rounding out my top 5, I have Joe Mixon against Baltimore. If the offensive line does not improve quickly here and start to give him a shot, he is still going to get 20 plus touches, and he's got a good chance of falling in the end zone, but still you would like to see it. Next up is Dalvin Cook against the Bears. I am a little bit surprised that his role in the passing game has dwindled over the last couple weeks. Maybe Kevin O'Connell goes ahead and fixes that here. But either way, the Bears are allowing nearly 22 points a game to backs, and Cooks is due for an explosion. It probably comes here. To the next tier, it is Derrick Henry leading it off. Speaking of explosions, King Henry returned last week. He was able to get back on track. He does get a little bit of a knock here because the Commanders are no joke up front. They allow bottom 6 points per game to the position. Christian McCaffrey has a similar brutal matchup in the 49ers. He is here only because of his talent and ability to make something out of nothing. I do not have much faith at all that the Panthers are going to be able to move the ball against San Francisco. Next up to 9, it is Leonard Fournette. He gets the Falcons. And over the last 2 weeks, Lenny has 15 carries for a whopping 32 yards. It has been horrible, but his receiving ability has been able to carry and save owners. He is going to do it on the ground this week and also in the air against Atlanta. Rounding out the top 10, it's James Robinson. He gets Houston. Absolutely nothing went right for the Jags last week after that hard start where they went up 14-0 on the Eagles, and that really affected Robinson's production. With Travis Etienne lurking in the shadows, just waiting to snatch the job, I think Robinson has a big game here to hold him off for at least a little bit longer. A matchup with the Texans, who allow more points per game to running backs than anybody, is certainly going to help. To tier 4, and at the top of it, it is Jamaal Williams, fresh off a monster week of his own. Detroit's top 5 O-line faces a top 3 rushing defense. That will be the storyline here. Williams has back-to-back finishes in the top 5, and that includes 3 games so far with 2 rushing scores. I do like his chances to produce once again. Miles Sanders is my last RB1 in week number 5 against Arizona. He has finally gotten those well-earned touches that I have been clamoring for what seems like a year plus. So what happens? He becomes the RB8 on the season. Just continue to give this man the ball. To lucky number 13, it is Dameon Pierce. I aggressively ranked him last week, and that certainly worked out for us. Back to the well here with the Jaguars matchup that should allow him to thrive. They give up 22 points a game to backs. That is 8th most in the NFL. At the top of tier 5, CEH sits Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It does not seem to me like 5 touchdowns in 4 games is something that is sustainable. But then you go and look at how amazing that Kansas City offense looked last week against a good defense in Tampa Bay, and you think maybe it is. After 22 carries in his first 3 weeks combined, CEH had 19 last week. We take that volume. On to Josh Jacobs, who gets a great matchup against a bottom 6 unit in Kansas City. They allow over 23 points a game to rushers. Jacobs ate a top 5 unit last week. He had 144 yards, so he should see plenty of success as long, like we said earlier in the quarterback video, as the Raiders can keep this one close. Khalil Herbert is in at 16. He gets Minnesota. Not only do the Bears not have any other option than to run some more, but the Vikings don't have an ability to stop it either, so that should work out well. I think Herbert does plenty of damage. At 17 and at the top of tier 6, it is Najee Harris against Buffalo. It is doubtful that Kenny Pickett is going to find any success through the air against the Bills, so I think they lean heavily once again on Najee. It's not going to work out well for him, but the volume will be there. To 18, it is J.K. Dobbins, who broke out in his second game back. He had 2 touchdowns, and he also got 15 plus touches, which you love to see. In a high-scoring affair in this game against Cincinnati, I am buying his volume. The Patriot brothers are next. I have them at 19 and 20. Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. It is because of the matchup here. Now, Harris has a chance at his first 100-yard game of the season. I think he can make it 4 straight with a score as well. And Stevenson is going to be getting another 17-plus touch game. This time they do it against a team that gives up over 28 points a game to the position. Everybody say it with me. You start your playmakers against Detroit. A.J. Dillon is at 21. He is the top of my 7th tier. And since week 1, Dillon has failed to get inside of the top 30. The touches remain, but the quality of them leaves a lot to be desired. Breece Hall is up next. He's at 22. He outtouched Michael Carter 2-1 almost last week. It was 19-10. He has a chance here to cement the RB1 job in New York if he can show up big. Now, he has finishes of 12, 18, and 16 over the last 3 weeks, so he could certainly cement a spot in your lineups as well. In at 23, I have James Conner. There has not been a lot to like about Arizona's offense so far this year, and Conner has been a big part of that. To keep up with Philly, though, they are going to need to find the end zone, so maybe Conner is able to fall in and get you one. At 24, my last RB2 is Melvin Gordon. I am really not sure, and this is why I have him dropped a little bit, of the level of confidence that Denver has in Gordon. He's got 4 fumbles already. He had a big one last week that was returned 68 yards for the score and pretty much turned the way that that game went. But they really don't have much of a choice after losing Javonte Williams. He's going to see a ton of usage, even if Mike Boone takes a little bit away from him. Jeff Wilson is my 25th ranked back against Carolina. He is once again going to see a hefty workload because everything the 49ers do plays off of that ground attack. But he does have 74 yards or more in the last 3 games. We love that type of floor. To 26, at the top of tier 8 is Rashaad Penny. I expect a pretty insane coming back down to earth game after he absolutely demolished Detroit last week with those 2 touchdowns at 151 yards. New Orleans ranks 6th in the league against the run. I do not like his chances to put up another big one here. In at number 27, I have Antonio Gibson. A lot of what we're going to do with Gibby this week depends on what happens with Brian Robinson. That is far from ideal, but it is just the way things are right now because Antonio Gibson's efficiency really hasn't been there for pretty much the whole season. But as long as he gets that volume, which is an if at this point, he is going to remain a decent flex option. 28 sees Devin Singletary against Pittsburgh after receiving just 5 targets in total over his first 2 games. Over the last 2, Singletary has racked up 16, and with it, he's pulled in 125 yards receiving. The Bills can take advantage of this matchup, certainly on the ground. Pittsburgh gives up a ton there, but they might not want to. They just might want to toss it all over the field, so there is some risk involved. To 29, it is Kareem Hunt. This does feel like a week where Kareem breaks one off and actually scores a touchdown. He's been shut out of the end zone since scoring 2 in week number 1. To 30, it is Tyler Allgeier. No clue if we're saying it right. He had 104 yards on just 11 touches in relief of an injured Cordero Patterson, so you'll love that start. I think it is a good sign of things to come. However, Tampa Bay is likely to shut him down. First start against a good rushing defense who's got some anger to take out after getting crushed last week. Zeke Elliott is next at 31. I just figured I'd put him pretty close to where he is on the season as RB30. He did get out of the negatives last week in the receiving yardage category, so that was a great thing for him. He is still being fed the ball in this offense, and he has a semi-decent floor with some capped upside, so go ahead and take it if you want it. At the top of my final tier, number 9, it is Cam Akers against Dallas. The Cowboys are more susceptible on the ground than they are anywhere else in this defense, but we can't feel great about how Akers looked last week against the 49ers, so there's plenty of risk in playing either back from LA. To 33, it is Raheem Mostert. Since week 1, he has an advantage of 34-16 in the carry department against Chase Edmonds, and that is the only reason we still have him as a flex consideration. That advantage is going to keep him in this range until we know who the real running back 1 is in Miami, and that might not be ever. 34 sees Travis Etienne Jr. against Houston. I am feeling a bit of a breakout this week for Etienne. I'm not sure what it is. He tied last week with James Robinson for touches, and the plus matchup definitely puts him in flex-worthy category. Nyheim Hines is the last running back I'm going to talk about. Obviously, this is assuming that Jonathan Taylor is going to be out, and with Josh Jacobs putting in work last week against this defense, there is a little bit of hope, but I want to see it first before I invest in it. And if you do not want to do that and you're willing to take a chance, I cannot fault you for it a whole lot. And that is all I got for you guys in the video today. Hope you guys pulled some good information from this that is going to help you make better decisions moving forward so that we can dominate our opponents and go get those dubs. Make sure you like the video. It helps me out a bunch. Subscribe to the channel. Trying to get my first 500, and you can help me out by clicking that button. It will allow you to get all the great content that Relentless Press is dropping every week. I have Monday to Saturday videos dropping at 12 p.m. Pacific on the dot, so you know when that content is coming. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.